The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty, back from a hiatus. A 1-week vacation that turned into a 2-week hiatus. We apologize for that. We went Thanksgiving week on our annual trip. We go every year on vacation that week. This year was no different. We went on vacation. When we got back, I was ready to roll. Kind of got a little delay in start. Thought, well, that's okay. It'll just be a couple days late. But, I was kind of struck by inspiration while I was gone. And I thought, I'm going to have our theme music, our intro music, which you heard, updated. It's going to have, I like the music. I like the sound of it. But just have some new lyrics put on it, to kind of emphasize our Midwest mindset that we have with the podcast on the Dave Dynasty Show here. So I decided to go ahead and do that. Well, then I thought, well, heck, it's just, my music guy told me it's only going to take a couple days. So I decided just to take another week, let the music get done, have that new intro. We have the interview with Roger Ruffen, which we promised you last week. But here we have it today. So it's all good. We're back. I have lots of cool, exciting things coming up in the weeks. We'll touch on those here in a minute. But first, let's talk about some Midwest wrestling news here from the past couple weeks. First of all, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you spent time with your families. Ate lots of food. But hope you remembered the point in reflecting on all those things that you have to be thankful for in your life. And we all have things to be thankful for. So hopefully that was a good time for you. So let's touch on some Midwest wrestling news here from the past couple weeks. We've got the news that Infinity Pro Wrestling has announced that they are returning in 2018 in Lafayette, Indiana. This is exciting news. Infinity Pro always puts on fantastic shows, fantastic talents. It's very exciting to have another strong promotion coming back to Indiana. To the Midwest, moving to Lafayette. Formerly, they were of the Bloomington area, Bloomington, Indiana area. Now they're going to be in Lafayette, Indiana. Very exciting for that. Look them up on Facebook. Follow them for more news and updates on when that will occur. On Thanksgiving night, Jimmy Jacobs, who we've talked about a lot in his return to the Indies, and especially his return to the Midwest. But on Thanksgiving night, Jacobs defeated Aaron Williams to win the IWA Mid-South title with a surprise assist from Ace Perry, former foe Ace Perry. Pretty cool to see that. I'm a big Aaron Williams mark, big fan of Aaron Williams. But of course, I love Jimmy Jacobs too. So I strongly suggest you go to Smart Mark Video, get that show, check that out. The match had to be extraordinary. On Saturday, September 25th, Sage Phillips won the IWA Mid-South Young Guns shootout. You heard Sage on the show many episodes ago. We have long touted him as one of the future stars of Midwest Pro Wrestling, and will, in my eyes, will eventually break out on the national level. So if you get out there, support Sage. Buy one of his shirts. Go see him and show your support from him while you can before he hits big. And that way you can say that you were a fan before. You were one of the cool kids. But congratulations to Sage Phillips on winning that Young Gun shootout. Very well deserved. Very cool thing. And then on Saturday, December 2nd, Kenny Cage won the Hoosier Pro Wrestling title. Hoosier Pro Wrestling is where Dave Dynasty was born. The HPW title I once upon a time held. Won that belt from Outlaw Jesse Houston back in the day, and then lost it to Ox Harley, who you heard on the Dave Dynasty Show many episodes ago. But anyway, Kenny Cage winning his first HPW title. HPW runs some family-friendly fun shows the first Saturday of every month. Been doing that for like 17, 18, 19 years, something like that. I don't even remember. It's almost going on 2 decades. They've been running in Columbus, Indiana. So go check them out. And while you're out there, here's some other shows to check out in your area. SICW on Saturday, September 9th in East Coeur d'Alene, Illinois. And then you can check out Rockstar Pro Wrestling every Wednesday in Dayton, Ohio. And Ohio Valley Wrestling every Wednesday in Louisville, Kentucky. And And, of course, you can check out IWA Mid-South every Thursday and Saturday in Memphis, Indiana, and WCWO every Friday night in Indianapolis, Indiana. But wherever you are, wherever you live, make sure you get out there and support an indie show next to you, or near you, next to you. Maybe it is next to you. Who knows? It depends on where you live, right? But go check them out. Go support. Buy a ticket. Buy a shirt. And have fun, man. Indie wrestling is great. It's fantastic. You have a wonderful time. And if you go to one and you don't have a good time and it's not a very good show, then just keep looking because you'll find one. There are tons of great promotions out there putting on great shows. So, and speaking of great shows, we have a great one today. We have an interview with Roger Ruffen, promoter of NWF over in Ohio, former referee, former wrestler. Has lots of great stories. We're going to talk to him about that. But we said that we got lots of exciting things coming up in the future. Let's touch on those real quick before we go to break. We have the Roger Ruffen interview today. Fantastic. Next week, we have a wonderful interview. It's already done with the King of Indiana, Billy Rock. An hour-long interview with Billy Rock. You do not want to miss this. If you don't know who Billy Rock is, shame on you. You'll want to hear this interview. You want to learn who he is. And trust me, he's no longer wrestling, no longer training, guys. But I guarantee you, Billy Rock is still having a huge impact in the Midwest wrestling scene just based on the guys he has trained and the names that you will recognize. So check out that interview next week. And then also in the next coming weeks, we have the third episode of Graham's Gallery. We'll be coming up with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. Of course, you don't want to miss that. Those are always huge successes. People love those episodes. I love doing them. It's a thrill for me to talk to Jerry Graham once a month. Well, we actually speak and message and stuff several times. But to get on there with him and discuss wrestling and pick his brain once a month is fantastic. But that's coming up. We also have an interview coming up here in the next few weeks with Fred Curry Jr. That's right. Fred Curry Jr., the son of Flying Fred Curry, the grandson of Wild Bill Curry. You don't want to miss that interview. That will be spectacular. And then also coming up in the weeks, we will begin our WWA in the 70s series with Chris Parsons. Chris has sent me over his first outline of ideals. He knows his stuff. He's a historian of the Midwest wrestling, particularly of the World Wrestling Association, Dick the Bruiser, Wilbur Snyder's group. You heard me talk to Richard Vicek, where we talked about the first 5 years, 60 to 64. Or excuse me, 64 to 69. Got my numbers all mixed up there. And we're going to dive into the 70s with Chris Parsons. And it is so thorough, so in-depth as we started throwing out these ideals and outlining these ideals that we've decided the first episode, we are just covering 1970 and 71. That's how much is going on in the WWE in the 70s that we could only cover 2 years in that first episode to keep it reasonable. So this will end up being probably a 3-part series on WWE in the 70s. You don't want to miss that. And, of course, here in a couple weeks, we will have something out there. Hopefully, we will have a very Dynasty Christmas 2. If you didn't hear it last year, it was kind of embarrassing. We sung, we did some weird things, all in the Christmas spirit. But we're going to do something again, have a little fun with it. 'Tis the season, and we're going to have a very Dynasty Christmas 2. So without any further ado, let's take a break. When we come back, we will have that interview with Roger Ruffen, so stick around.
Big-time action always on big-time wrestling, and one of the reasons this big man right here, the United States heavyweight champion, Bobo Brazil. Well, Bobo, you worked up a sweat there. That wrestling is pretty tough.
Yes. You know, I think every man that stepped into the ring is tough. You can't play no wrestler cheap. I believe if a wrestler go back into his dressing room and put on a pair of tights and come and step into any man's ring, you got to have a lot of respect for it.
Now, Bobo, you keep yourself in excellent condition, and one thing I will say, Bobo, that you will take on all wrestlers. It doesn't make any difference who they are.
Well, you know, how do you think I come to be champ? With me and the help of the fans. The fans, they give me that go power. When you have something behind you like the fans, that's the greatest thing in any man's life.
And, Bobo, you know, I've heard those fans. They will say, go, Bobo, go. Go, Bobo, go. And you try to oblige them, don't you?
You know how that makes me feel very, very good. You know, they have their trust in me. I know they are backing me up 100%. So I have to get in that ring and give them everything I have.
All right, Bobo, we've got some pretty tough opponents in big-time wrestling. There is the Sheik, perhaps one of your toughest opponents of all time. Then you've got this Abdullah the Butcher. and you've got this Baron von Krupp, and it just goes on and on and on.
Well, listen, I know I have the belt, and when any man have a belt, he have everyone shooting for the belt. So I know what I have to do. When I step into the ring, I guess guys like the Sheik, Butcher, and the German, and go on and go on. I know everyone is shooting for me. And Buzz, I know what I have to do. Just do my best. And I believe if I do my best, that's all I can do.
Bobo, I just like to say, as far as I'm concerned, you are the best. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States heavyweight champion, Bobo Brazil. When he's in that ring, you say, go, go, Bobo.
You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today we are joined with none other than Roger Ruffen. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great tonight, Ike. How you doing?
Fantastic. Wonderful to have you on here. I said I know we had to do a little bit of a reschedule, but we got you on here, no doubt. So we'll just start this interview off like we start everyone else off. Where are you from?
I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I was born and raised here, and I still live here to this day.
Oh, wow. So born and raised, living there. So then what was it like growing up in Cincinnati? Did you play any sports?
Oh, Cincinnati, just a normal Midwest town. Dayton and Columbus, just your normal Midwest town. And I grew up in a real large family, 6 kids.
Wow.
Wonderful. I was the baby of 6 kids, and wonderful mother and father, very supportive. I did play, I played some sports younger, baseball, and I actually played a lot of golf, believe it or not.
Right.
Golf ended up in makes a lot of sense. But, I played a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but, it's funny because a lot of times when I talk to people or get interviewed by people, they ask about, did I do any amateur wrestling, and I didn't. I never did any amateur wrestling, even though I knew at a very young age I wanted to be a pro wrestler or in the pro wrestling business. I never did any amateur wrestling. Foolishly, I did not. But I was under the impression that, pro wrestling is body slams and drop kicks and stuff like that, and the amateur wrestlers are rolling around on the mat and stuff like that. They can't be the same thing. And boy, I really regret that, because once I became a pro wrestler, I had to learn so much of that, and I was a little bit behind because of that. And I always regret that. So if there's any, I always tell the younger guys, man, kids that are, younger than 18 and that aren't able to start a career in pro wrestling, man, get that amateur background, because if you don't, you'll really be sorry. If you get that amateur background, you'll be, definitely ahead of schedule. But, other than that, I just had a normal childhood. I did okay in school, nothing to brag about, but I muddled my way through school, and, I had really great parents, like I said before, very supportive. My father was just a wonderful man. I always said that when I grow up, if I could become half the man my father was, I would consider myself a success. So I really, really looked up to my father, and he was always very supportive in anything that I decided to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm saying, just to kind of call back to what you said, a lot of people I interview, they do have some kind of background, and yeah, it's always either football or amateur wrestling or both. But it's very unique to see someone with such skill to have never had that background. So it's always unique and awesome to hear that, though. But then you said
it was so stupid of me. I can remember talking to my parents and saying, "You want to be a big time wrestler one day?" Because that's what I was always called around here, big time wrestling. You want to be a big time wrestler one day? You should wrestle in school. Oh no, that's not the same thing, Mom, Dad. I don't need to do that. I don't need to go in there and roll like that. But boy, I sure wish I would have.
So then it sounds like you've pretty much known you wanted to be a wrestler most of your life. So then, growing up, what were your first memories of wrestling, and who were you a fan of?
Well, with living here in Cincinnati, the promotion that we got that came to Cincinnati was the promotion, Big Time Wrestling, which was, the famous wrestlers there were the Sheik and Bobo Brazil and Pompero Furbo and Marino, and just, in my eyes, just bigger than life stars. And I actually started going to the wrestling shows very young. I was born in 1964, and I think by 1970 I was a regular at the wrestling shows. They used to come, since the 1970s, they used to come. The schedules changed, but I can remember for a long time to come every Tuesday night to the Cincinnati Gardens, and the whole neighborhood kids would go. Parents would take turns on down there, back to pick up or a station wagon. Some used to go. I really liked it. I never, at that time, I didn't really enter my mind that that's what I wanted to do. Everybody else wanted to be a baseball player or a fireman. Really didn't. I didn't really think about it. I really remember. I remember the exact moment that I said to myself, "That's it. I know what I'm going to do." And it was the Cincinnati Gardens one night. Tony Marino was a fan favorite wrestler at that time, and he was in a bitter feud with Killer Brooks. And those very top superstars out of that promotion, and anywhere else it went, but they had a long feud in that territory. Well, they were having a big battle one night. And Killer Brooks, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but long hair, bearded guy, he would come to the ring smoking a cigar.
Okay.
And just a tremendous heel, just tremendous. And my closest in age brother was with me that night, and we were always very, very, very competitive with one another. Well, Killer Brooks comes down to the ring one night, and he's smoking a cigar. And right before he gets into the ring, he takes that cigar out and he flips it down on the floor, kind of somewhat close by where we were sitting. I looked at that cigar, my brother looked at that cigar, we looked at one another, and we both went tearing after that cigar. And my brother got that cigar as a souvenir. And he just rubbed that into me that he got that souvenir and I didn't get it. And imagine that, we were fighting over a dirty, filthy cigar. But I'll never forget that, and I said at that moment, I will show you. You got that from me, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to be one of those guys one day. And that's the exact moment when I knew my career path.
Wow. So that was like the moment that you knew.
That was, oh yeah, I remember just as crystal clear because we were so competitive. And how dare you beat me at that?
No, I definitely feel you there. I have 4 brothers, so absolutely understand where you're coming from. However, I was the oldest, so I was on the other end of that spectrum. But Wow, that's actually really awesome because a lot of the times when I ask people, when was the moment that wrestling hooked you, they kind of give the generic, oh, when I was a kid, so and so. But you were like, I know the moment.
Yeah, I know. I'll remember that to the day I die. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
And they like I said, they used to run the Cincinnati Gardens, every other Tuesday. And they had, and it got a little bit older, and the business had dwindled some. They weren't coming around Cincinnati quite as often. And their TV time slot had went from, like on a Saturday afternoon to Saturday at midnight or Saturday at 1 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of the kids around the neighborhood kind of lost interest in it, but I was still, very much a huge fan of that's what I wanted to do, So I got to a point where when they would come to town, I was the first one there. I was waiting at the door for the building to open the doors up. I remember beating the ring truck there, seeing the ring truck pull in and stuff. And I remember they'd be turning the lights off at night, and they would say, "Kid, you got to go. We're closing the building up." I've been there longer than the guys that opened the building up. That's just how I was enthralled by this, and how I had to be in this. I had to be around this. It had really overtaken me that much.
Well, I mean, and it definitely seems like the passion was there. And as a lot of people know, it was a little bit different getting into the business then than it is now, of course.
Yes, much harder, much harder.
So then, if I'm not mistaken, you were trained by Les Ruffen, right?
That's correct. Yeah, he was a local front man for the Cincinnati and Dayton shows at that time, and he had noticed that me hanging around and always being there early and being there late, and he had said he'd start talking to me a little bit, and we became friendly, and just would ask him a lot of questions. Told him I wanted to be a wrestler one day, and he kind of didn't pay too much attention to that. But the more he saw me around and stuff, and he said, "Man, obviously this kid really wants to, has the passion for it, really wants to do it." And he said, "Would you like to start doing some odd jobs?" And I was 14 years old or something at this time period, and he started giving me posters and flyers and stuff, and I was going all over town hanging posters and flyers up and stuff. And that was when I first realized that not only was I interested in in wrestling and performing in front of people, but I was interested in the business aspect also, because I was smart enough to tell that the crowds from the heyday were not there, and the crowds were going down at that time. And I'd always ask him, what would be a good crowd, and because I knew if they didn't get bigger crowds, they weren't going to continue to come. And I always asked him what would be a good crowd, and what do we need to do, and what can we do to get that many people, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's when he finally realized I wasn't messing around. I was really had the destiny or the desire to accomplish this, and that's when he decided, I guess, he would take me somewhat under his wings at that time.
Okay. So then, so you start doing like in-ring training, and what age did that start becoming a part of your life? Well,
okay, there's the hard part. Here's the really hard part is that was, when it was I turned 18 in 1983,
okay,
and the Sheik's promotion was long gone by then, and the only wrestling. Prior to 83, I had started traveling with Les a little bit. He would come over to Indianapolis for the WWA shows and stuff. So I was, I started learning there was other stuff out there across the country. And it was time for me, I was getting close, I need to start training, And I'd been around Les so much, so I was learning a lot of the behind-the-scenes aspects of wrestling and the professionalism aspects of being a pro, and how to handle yourself and carry yourself, which unfortunately is not stressed enough in today's wrestling. And and today's younger guys. I mean, and it's not really a fault of theirs. They're not being trained quite properly. Because you can be a great wrestler in the ring, but if you're not a true pro, you know, it can really hurt your career. But anyway, so I was trained very well as far as that kind of stuff goes. But at that time, Les was a diabetic and had lost his legs, and he was in a wheelchair, so he wasn't going to physically train me. And at that time, there was no wrestling schools anywhere around. I mean, there was wrestling schools, but they were scattered way far apart and stuff like that. So the only physical training that I got was very, very limited before shows and stuff. Getting in the ring for a few minutes, you know, begging one of the guys to show me a few things and stuff like that. So actually, before I had my first match, to be honest with you, I had very limited in-ring training.
Wow. So then most of what you picked up was just kind of in between matches then, just kind of, you know, going from match to match learning.
Yeah.
So then what was your first match like then? Because you said you didn't have a whole lot of in-ring training before then. Do you know when that was?
Yeah, I know. It was November 5th, 1983 was my first match. And it was for a small independent promoter down in Kentucky. Les agreed. I was really pushing him hard. I'm 18 now, you know, I want to wrestle. You know, you're not ready. He kept saying stuff like that. Well, finally I drove him so crazy that he had gotten a hold of a small promoter that ran some shows down in Kentucky, and Les called the guy up and said, I got this kid, you know, I'd like for you do me a favor and use this guy. And the guy said, well, how many matches has he had? And Les said, well, he hasn't had any matches at all. And the promoter said, no way. And then Les said, well, he'll work for free. And the promoter said, tell him he's booked. So that was my first match, November 5th, 1983 in Falmouth, Kentucky. And if I recall right, the show, there was a couple of decent wrestlers on the show, but most of the wrestlers on the show were not the world's best wrestlers. So I was told, and if I recall, I actually did fairly well. I did well enough that they invited me back. So at that point, I was off and running.
So I mean, you had enough to impress somebody. That's what matters.
Yes, that's right.
So I mean, like you said, I mean, it was, you know, it's a lot different back then. But I mean, you got your way into the business. You fought your way in. I mean, you obviously stayed for a while. But obviously, in your early career, I just want to make sure, did you always use the name Roger Ruffen? Because that was a question of mine. Or did you have any other names?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that was going to be my name until I got to the show at the first show, and I guess Les had told him to call me that. So I just used it. I used it out of respect. Early in my career, I'd had a lot of people tell me that I needed to change it. You know, it wasn't a flashy or name was going to catch anybody's attention. But Les was always around so much, and I just didn't have he'd done so much for me. I didn't really have the heart to change my name. So I just kept it and rolled with it. There was a few times where I strayed from that name, using some variations of it and stuff like that. But I usually stood with that name.
Fair enough. And that was kind of something I was, like I said, I was curious about. But I mean, it makes sense. It does. So.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know your first match. We know that you had something in you that impressed somebody to keep them coming back. But where else did you work in your early career? Were there any other notable areas?
Well, that was I started in November of '83. But in January, just a few months later, in January of '84, is when I started working for Bruiser's Group in January of '84. And I also started refereeing for the WWE in January of '84 also. It kind of happened pretty much at the same time. Les was very close in with Bruiser. You know, they had been, friends for 20, 30 years or whatever. So Bruiser brought me in. I was just more of just a enhancement guy for his television shows. And was a great learning experience. I worked for Bruiser for 84, and I believe most of 85. And I was, at the same time, I'm working for Bruiser, I'm refereeing for the WWE. And I had gotten that gig by the WWE. At that time, was just coming into Cincinnati. And at that time, Cincinnati had a wrestling commission. And one of the bylaws was you had to use a city official to be a referee, at least one city official to be a referee. And at the time, the commission didn't have any city officials. Well, I was friendly with the commissioner from, all those years of being around the shows and stuff, and he said, hey, I need a city referee. Are you interested? And WWE's coming. Of course I'm interested, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I started doing that, and I was doing both. I was working for Bruiser. I was doing the referee gigs and picking up other small independent shows, and I was really lucky how I managed that schedule, and very rarely them having bookings on the same days and stuff. I was really, really lucky, and the WWE was also going into Indianapolis. Well, when they were going to Dayton, Columbus, and all this surrounding area, and they really liked my work when they were using me in Cincinnati, and so they said, well, rather than flying somebody in or bringing one of the guys off, on the road, it'd be cheaper for us to use you in all these Midwest towns. I said, great, absolutely, I'll do it. The pay was at that time, to me, the pay was just phenomenal. You're paying a referee that much money, I won't be there. But I always weaseled my way out and turned down those WWE or the Bruiser's bookings. Indianapolis shows. I wouldn't go referee in Indianapolis because I was working for Bruiser over there. I didn't want to cause any heat. And Bruiser, he was running 3 times a week during that time period. He wasn't nearing the end of his promotion, but he had definitely slowed down on the shows that he was running. But he was running 3-4 days a week. He was not using me on all those shows. I was getting 3-4 at top 5 bookings a month from him. So I was able to do all these other refereeing shows. Awesome. Well, I had called him on a day to check my bookings, and I was scheduled to referee. I was scheduled to work for Bruiser in Indianapolis. And it was the same night that WWE was in Indianapolis, so he was running head-to-head against them. And I called him to check on some other booking or something. I can't really remember the exact reason why I called him, but I called him, and he said, oh, yeah, by the way, I don't need you tonight. Whatever, he had a reason, whatever the reason was. So, and I was always a very laid-back and easygoing guy, no problem. But for some reason, that kind of got in my crawl that he canceled me off that show. So I called WWE real quick and said, hey, I'm available to do Indianapolis if you guys still need a ref. And they said, well, yeah, I don't know if we need one, but come on up and we'll see. So I went up there that night and ended up refereeing. And one of Bruiser's other full-time referees, Johnny Shorn, who's referee for Bruiser for ever and ever and ever, he was at the WWE show too. So here's a WWA referee and a WWA wrestler on the WWE show in Indianapolis on the same night. Well, of course, Bruiser got wind of that real quick, and I was, you could say in kind words, I was terminated from my days of working for Bruiser at that time.
Understandable. I mean, not understandable, but at the same time, I get what you're saying. So it's a random coincidence that just turned into the crappiest moment, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I would referee, and I really wanted to be a wrestler, but the money that I was making refereeing, I just could not turn that down. I mean, I was making, one night refereeing what Bruiser would pay me for a whole month of shows.
So then, yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
It just didn't, I couldn't turn those down anymore. So unfortunately, we had a little falling out there. But later on, a few years later, we patched things up a few years later.
I mean,
but as far as working for other people, I was bouncing all those different bookings around, and it was working out pretty good for me. I mainly stayed doing the independent shows. I did a few shows. Was fortunate enough to do a few shows for Jared's promotion out of Memphis, and our friend Rip Rogers brought me in when he was booking out in Kansas. He brought me in there. I wasn't there long enough to have a cup of coffee, but it was a good learning experience for me to go out there. But most of it, most of my time was occupied with the referee, and also right around that time, Les Thatcher had a wrestling school here in Cincinnati called Bone Crushers, and him and a gentleman named Johnny Diamond were running it. Johnny Diamond was actually the owner of it, and he had hired Les to do all his training. And Les is, I have all the respect in the world for Les Thatcher. Just an extraordinary wrestling trainer, and done all kinds of stuff in the wrestling business. But him and this guy that had the wrestling school had a falling out. So Les had quit and walked away from it. So the guy was looking for a trainer at the time, and I'd never trained anybody. But I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. So that was about 22 years ago. I started training guys, and been training wrestlers ever since. It was funny because, like I said, I had never trained anybody before. I knew how to wrestle. I wasn't a great wrestler, but I felt I was smart enough to do it. And so I kind of trained myself to train guys while I was training guys.
So I mean, it's kind of a learn as you go job.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
No, absolutely. I mean, and it's not like you didn't do well, because you certainly did. So just to kind of give people perspective, one of your most memorable trainees is Carl Anderson.
Yes.
How did you meet him and begin training him?
Well, he had moved to Cincinnati from Asheville, North Carolina, and he had moved up. Back up just a little bit here. When Les and the gentleman had a split, Les went and started his own school. So we actually had two schools in Cincinnati at the time. And Les had a great name and a great reputation. And he had just, I don't know if you recall, but he had many, many years ago, he had done a special on MTV about his wrestling school, and it had gotten great, great ratings for this and everything. It was really the talk of the business there for a little while. So he had guys moving from all over the country coming to train with him. Well, Carl Anderson was one of them. He had moved up from Asheville, North Carolina, and he trained with Les. I think he trained with him for about a month, and he had got a pretty severe concussion, and he had to stop training. And he was out for a while, about 6 months or so. And he decided he wanted to start training again. And I don't know the whole reason why he didn't go back to Les, but decided to come train with us at that time. So, what a talented guy,
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's done a lot. I mean, it's definitely shows.
Yeah, he worked really, really hard. One thing about about training to be a wrestler and training guys to be a wrestler, Carl Anderson is a huge success, and he is a great, great wrestler. But he's not successful and in the spot that he's in now because of me. I'm sure I helped him a lot. I taught him a lot, and I feel I have helped him along his way. But for guys like that to get where they got, they got to take it upon themselves. You know, they got to strive extra hard. They got to work extra hard. They have to take chances, you know. And though I helped him along, he is such a hard worker that he earned his, you know, he definitely earned his spot where he's at. He spent many years over in Japan and was a huge hit over there. And I'm really proud of him. He's done a great job.
Absolutely.
And he's not the only one. I've been fortunate enough, you know. I trained the Monster Abyss, TNA superstar.
Yeah,
and he is, and I even mean this today. Even though TNA has slipped quite a bit, I truly believe he is, if not the most talented person in wrestling, he is right there in the top 5 of the most talented guys in the business today. He can do everything. He's a great wrestler. He can talk. He's great behind. He's very instrumental behind the scenes there in TNA that he doesn't get a lot of credit for. And he pull off different characters. I mean, there's people today that still are not sure whether Abyss is Joseph Parks or Joseph Parks is Abyss. I mean, that's how good he is.
So then, I mean, that was actually another person I was going to bring up was Abyss. So then to kind of rewind a little bit, how did you meet him and when did you begin training him?
I'm really bad on dates and stuff like that, but he came, he just showed up at the school. He was a marketing manager for a minor league hockey team here in Cincinnati. And he was just a huge wrestling fan. He just walked in the door one day. And a great, big, huge guy. I said, "Oh, good." Because, well, you know, a lot of times when you're training wrestlers and people show up off the street, unfortunately, they don't look like, you know, hey, I can do something with this guy. Well, when this guy walked in, it was like, oh, good, we can do something with him. And yeah, he just walked in right off the street, and this was probably 1994, 95, somewhere right around there. He had played college football for Ohio University in Athens.
Okay.
Also, was lucky enough that Wildcat Chris Harris trained with us, who was wrestled for TNA for a long time. He started off with us, and we also were fortunate enough to train Jillian Hall, who was with the WWE for a long time. So we've had some success. You know, it's so much harder to be a major success in this business today as it was, 20 or 30 years ago. There's just no, it's certainly not as many places to make a living as there once was. So it's so hard. It's so hard.
No, absolutely. But, I mean, just to kind of rewind, I mean, you've wrestled, you've refereed, you've trained, and you had a lot of success in all those assets. I mean, you've done, like we've been speaking of, you've done a lot of training. You trained some very memorable names. You did very well with your refereeing and your wrestling. But as well, you also decided to be a promoter. So tell us about the NWF.
Well, when I started training with Bone Crushers, they also would run a few shows here and there, and they ran under the name Northern Wrestling Federation. And the gentleman, Les was kind of helping. Les Thatcher was kind of helping with that too. But when he had left to pursue his own thing, the gentleman that owned it was a really nice guy, but he wasn't a real go-getter. Let me just say that. So I kind of wore a lot of hats there when I first started there. And after a couple of years of doing that, the gentleman decided he wanted to get out, and I just went ahead and I purchased the school and the wrestling promotion from him at that time. And we just it's last night we had a show in Fairfield, Ohio, and we just celebrated our 22nd year of promoting shows.
Wow. So I mean, you've had quite a bit of experience then with promoting as well.
Yeah. We run between 50 and 60 events a year. Okay. So, I mean, that's a fair amount. It's not, you certainly can't make a living at it, obviously, but it's enough that, we got a pretty good grasp on what we're doing.
No, absolutely. And I mean, and I think in that position, I mean, even though it's, with promoting and having all that background, you definitely kind of have a unique look at the industry, and I definitely think you have the smarts to be able to kind of make it work for you. But another interesting aspect about being there is that you've seen pretty much all the eras of wrestling, all the major eras of wrestling, even the modern style of wrestling. So as a promoter, what are your opinions on the modern style of wrestling?
Well, there's things I really love about it, and there's things I can't stand about it. And to be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of today's wrestling. I do watch. I'll watch the WWE show to catch Carl Anderson on there, and I'll pick up a little bit of TNA here and there to see this on there. And I'll catch a few, clips on Facebook and stuff of some of those the super indies, I guess they call them. And I mean, there's some. It's no different than any other sport. The athletes of today, we'd be lying if we didn't say the athletes of today are better. They're better athletes. There's no doubt about that, and that goes for any sport. But are they as smart? I don't know. I don't think today's wrestling. I don't think the guys get enough out of what they're doing. But and it just goes with today's society too. It's a fast-paced society. It's a fast-paced sport. We're in it for the moment. We're not in it for the long haul. Unfortunately, it seems like the style of wrestling. I know one thing: the guys are killing themselves out there. I hate to see that. There's so many injuries nowadays from wrestling, and it's not because of carelessness or not being a good performer. It's just it's such a fast-paced, hard-hitting sport now. I mean, when I first broke in, there were some tough old guys in the business, but we kind of took care of one another, and today, I'm not saying they don't take care of one another, but it's just when you jump off top rope 5 times in one match, you're going to get hurt. There's situations where you're not going to land right or whatever it might be. So if I could change something in wrestling today, I would slow it down. But you know what? If that happened, everybody probably go bankrupt.
You're probably right about that.
Unfortunately, us old guys, we're kind of stuck in our ways or stuck in our thought processes. But I know that. I know that's what the people want. They want that high flying. They want that hard hitting action that today's wrestling gives. So I try on our shows that we promote. I try to mix that in. I try to just still give the fans hard hitting, fast paced, but still try to give them some of that old school psychology and simpleness.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree. I mean, you look at you compare a match from 20 years ago to a match today. You're definitely going to see, first of all, that the people are so much more. I mean, it's so much more fast paced, like you said. And you're right, injuries are more rampant, I feel, nowadays. But like you said, that's just a progression. That's just how it is.
Yeah, right, exactly. And no matter no matter how much we complain, it's not going to change. So we need to help. What we need to do is we need to either do one of two things: learn to let go, or we need to help the younger generation and teach them how to incorporate some of that stuff into good psychology and just right from wrong. It doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense when somebody gets picked up and thrown on their head 5 times in a row, and then they get right back up. That doesn't make no sense. And unfortunately, you see that a lot.
And it's and for people who may not see it, I mean, it may sound like an exaggeration, but I'm pretty sure I've seen matches where someone, you can only false finish so many times. Come on.
Right. Yeah. And the funny part about it is, some of the fans like, oh, well, he's not hurt. He just got right back. Well, actually, the guy probably actually is hurt. He's probably thinking to himself right now, oh, God, that hurt.
Yeah. The guy that just got dropped on his head. He's cool. Don't worry about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of people getting dropped on their heads, as a promoter, another unique thing you get to experience is a lot of guys coming in and out and whatnot. So what guys out there do you see in the Midwest that could be the future of wrestling if they don't get dropped on their head too many times?
Oh, boy, man. And I really don't know enough names out there. I mean, some of my guys will come to training, they'll talk about matches that they've seen, and they'll say, this guy or whatever, that guy did this, and I'll say, who's that? And they'll say, you don't know that guy? Are you crazy? He's one of the best guys on the independent scene. So I'm kind of really not, that's a tough question for me. I'm not educated enough on their names and stuff, but I mean, they're definitely, I mean, I would like to name a lot of my guys. I think a lot of my guys are, got a lot of potential. And I know over there in Indiana, I know there's a couple new groups over there that are doing really well. I've heard a lot of good things about that Emerge Wrestling out of Indiana. And I know there's, up in Ohio, and War Wrestling up in Ohio, I know there's a lot of really guys that are really doing well. And this is a really good area. The Midwest is really a really good area for quality wrestlers. And you can just think of all the guys from the Midwest recently that have made it, made it to the top. Dean Ambrose and Carl Anderson, and there's many, many more. This is 2 off the top of my head that came from this area. This is a great area. It really is.
Absolutely, and I would 100% agree with you. So then, as we kind of wind down the interview, just to get some more information about you, a little fun thing we like to do. But what's one thing that most fans don't know about Roger Ruffen?
Wow. I didn't expect that one. It's gosh. I pretty much what you see is what you get. I mean, I am so, this is my 34th year in wrestling, and I have never stepped away from the business. I've never taken time off from the business. I've been doing it for 34 years. I love it. If I didn't have it, I would probably die the next day. Next to my family, there's nothing that comes before wrestling besides my family. And we train twice a week. I go out and do promoting twice a week. I have shows on the weekend, and I work a 40-hour-a-week job. And I just, besides the 40-hour-a-week job, there's nothing that I would change.
I mean, that's the life right there. Wrestling and more wrestling, right?
I really don't have. It's funny because I really don't have no downtime. I don't have much hobbies because I don't have time for them. I mean, I like cold beer and chicken wings. Other than that, it's wrestling.
Hey, that's not a bad thing. Being pretty straightforward, being pretty simple, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So definitely, again, just kind of wind down a little bit. What for you and your promotion? We're about to enter a new year. 2018 is going to be a big year. I can already feel it. So, what does the future hold for yourself and the NWF?
Well, we're not really going to change any of our philosophies or anything like that. We're just going to continue to do what we're doing. We're not making $1 million, but we're successful. We've never had anybody put money into our company. been able to make enough money that we keep on rolling, we keep on doing our thing. And I agree with you. I think this year is going to be a good year. I mean, all the indie shows are doing solid business right now. I mean, I'm sure there's some that aren't doing very good, but as a whole, I think the indies are doing better than they've ever done. So I don't see no. It's an alternative. You kind of get the WWE dominates so much, and we're the people are finally looking elsewhere for alternatives, and hopefully the indie shows can capitalize on it.
Absolutely, and I certainly do hope that happens, because one of my biggest complaints about the wrestling scene is the complacency with people who only watch one outlet of wrestling and don't even look at the other ones, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely true. That is definitely true. I mean, and you hear guys say, "Oh, did you see the WWE show? It was terrible this week." Well, first of all, it wasn't terrible. It's just you're expecting too much.
Right.
But if you do think it's terrible, come out to our show. Check our show out. Check the other guys' show out. Check the guys that are out running in Indiana. Check the guys that are running shows down in Kentucky. There's some good options out there.
Absolutely, 100% would agree. All right, so as we kind of finish up here, social medias, do you have a way that fans can follow you or the NWF to kind of see what shows are running and what you guys are doing?
Absolutely. Man, I'm so long-winded that there was a couple things I wanted to touch on, man. Some of the great guys I've met over there in Bruiser's area, but we'll hook up again. Me and you'll hook up again sometime, and I'll tell you some WWA stories that I can remember. On social media, real simple, Roger Ruffen, Ruffen, on Facebook. On Twitter, just at Roger Ruffen. I also have a second Facebook page called I Am the Man, and I don't use that very often, but once in a while when something pisses me off in today's wrestling world, I'll rant a little bit on that page.
Absolutely. And then how about the NWF and the social media for the NWF, or did you already say that?
Absolutely, no. We got all kinds. I actually got 3 Facebook pages for one's called the Northern Wrestling Federation, one's called Team NWF Army, and the other is called Northern Wrestling Federation Army. There's all kinds of great stuff on there. Check that out. We have a hotline, 513-570-4NWF.
Oh, wow. So you guys heard it here. You got a lot to go look at. You got all kinds of Facebook pages for the promotion, and you got a billion one things to go look up for him. Definitely check out all of those because you won't want to miss those. Alrighty. Well, Roger, I appreciate it so much for you coming on here, talking to us. And you're right. This almost got an hour, but we're going to have to catch back up with you again to get some more stories out of you.
No problem. I want you to know I loved the Indiana wrestling. I grew up watching a lot of it, and I spent a lot of time. I loved Indiana wrestling, so I've actually caught your show a lot. I loved your interview with Bobby Colt and Greg Lake and all those guys. They're tremendous guys, and they deserve a lot of credit for that area being successful. And thank you for bringing me on.
Come crack open a cold one and let Old Manser tell you a story.
King of Big Dog Style, Larry Light Beer, the king of the trailer court, your favorite wrestler of mine, me.
This is Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner.
All right, people, here we go. Red light on. Old Master checking in. Been a couple weeks you ain't got to listen to Old Master out here on the Dave Dynasty Show. The best part of the Dave Dynasty Show, Old Master part, people. So, let me get into my shtick right here. Let me get on down here. Old Big Doggy, King of Big Dog Style, Larry Light Beer, Master of the Pop-Up Headbutt, Dramatic Pause, Knee Pad Up, Knee Pad Down, Old Master, baby. The Southern Psycho, King of the Trailer Court. And on and on and on. I can name nicknames all day long, people. But here's the deal. Been a couple weeks, Dave Dynasty Show. Coming back on here strong. Old Master, I ain't going to keep you on here too long. I got my light beers in the fridge. I ain't feeling too good. I got some chunky soup over here. I ain't going to drop no names unless they send me free soup now. Okay. Here's the deal. Old Master, another edition of Warner Wisdom right here on the Dave Dynasty Show. The best part of the Dave Dynasty Show. I said that earlier. Now, let me get into the deal here. Every week on here on the Dave Dynasty Show on Warner Wisdom, Mance Warner himself gives you some wisdom. You could take it or leave it on the table. That's up to you. On this week, I'm gonna touch on something real quick. Let me dig on into it right now. Here we go. With pro wrestling, y'all know the deal. You on the road all the time. You making times. You hitting the pay window. You getting the W's. Making the next time, right? Now, I've given you advice before about how being on the road, maybe pre-pack some food. Don't spend all your money on hotels. Don't spend all your money at the bar. Try to save up a little money. Come up in the green instead of down in the red because you spend up all your money, right? Okay. Simple advice I'm going to give you this week. And this is something old Master himself has been guilty of too. So I ain't out here blaming no one or anyone like that. I'm just talking, just saying y'all got to be safe out here. Now, simple advice this week. Very, very simple. In this industry, you always on the road. Mean you always tired. Mean you always up and going. You making times. You don't always get your sleep in every night, right? Now, the main advice, very, very simple. Some people may say, geez, Master, what you even talking about? What's the point here? The point that I'm going to get to real quick. When you driving in your vehicle, in your van, in your little nice car, Master driving in his beautiful truck. If you start getting tired, it's very simple. Pull over and get a little couple Z's, man. Get some Z's. Nowadays, it's very, very dangerous on the road. You got people on their phones. You got people playing apps on their phones. You got people trying to take selfies for the Instagram, for the Facebook, for the Twitter, for the Soundcloud, for the iTunes. All the same places that you can find this edition right here of the Warner Wisdom on the Dave Dynasty Show. Everything I just said right there, people. That's called a transition. Now, back to what old Master was saying. You start getting tired on the road, just pull over and take a sleep, man. This ain't a pissing contest. Some people want to say, oh no, I'm good to drive, I'll keep driving. And then they damn near pass out and run off the road, right? Not if you carry an old Master in the car, baby. You start getting tired, I'm tired, you pulling over and we sleeping. Cause I can tell you this much. If you fall asleep, wreck the vehicle, I break a leg, I break my back, I can't wrestle no more, I can't make my money, get my green and my white, get my W's, hit the pay window, wear my boots and put the boots of somebody, I'm gonna haunt you, brother. Now, okay. It's a serious thing though, people. I mean, from old Master to you, y'all gotta be safe out there, man. You gotta make them times. You start getting tired, pull over. Sleep an hour, sleep 45 minutes, sleep 30 minutes, sleep 2 hours. Get some sleep in, get back on the road, man. This ain't a pissing contest that who can stay awake the longest. It's about being safe. It's about watching out for each other. This is a brotherhood at the end of the day, baby. Good brothers and good sisters out there. Y'all gotta watch out for each other. Be safe. Don't be messing around on your phone either when you're driving. Have someone else do. That's what old Master does. I always got somebody in the car with me. Something good popped in my head. I go, transcribe that down there, baby. I got me a good idea right here. Hey, this is what old Master's saying. Write it down there. Be safe, people. Don't be a dummy while you're driving. Don't be a bozo when you're hitting the road. Right? Very simple. You get tired, pull over. Write that one down. Use it. Use it this weekend. My shows start up on Thursday through Sunday. And you can guarantee if old Master gets tired, I'll pull over in my truck and I'm going to pass out. Or I walk up into a hotel and I'm going to sweet talk my way into a free room. One of the two. Now, until then, this has been the Dave Dynasty Show, the best part of the Dave Dynasty Show, old Master's part, baby. Right here, every week, tune on in, share this on the Twitter, the Instagrammer, the Facebook, the iTunes, the SoundCloud, all that crap, man. Get it on there, put Master on there. Old Master, now I got some news on here real quick before I get off here and get to my soup over there and then get my light beers rocking and rolling. Old Master is going to have some new t-shirts coming out, right? Now I got my t-shirts on ProWrestlingTees.com. You go in there and get that. I think a sale just wrapped up. But on top of that, old Master going to have some new t-shirts. Christmas themed t-shirts from old Master. Going to be coming up real soon. So going into December and January, you see old Mancer any shows coming up. Maybe you had an IWA Mid-South show. Maybe you had a GCW show. Maybe you had old Proving Ground show. Maybe you had an AIW show. Maybe you had just some random show and old Mancer come running up on you because they done drank 15 light beers and I'm going to get funky, man. That's just the way it's going to be. I got them beautiful t-shirts on me. So, write that down on your calendar for your kids, the little Mancers, for your grandpappy, your grandmama, everybody in between. I got them holiday shirts coming out. I'll throw them on the Facebook and Instagram soon enough. Now, I tell you, write down what I told you. You start getting tired, pull over, take a nap. Don't be out there risking your life and a bunch of other people's life because you want to have a pissing contest with how tough you are and how you don't need to get no sleep. Until then, old Mancer, don't get off here, people. See y'all later.
Hey, Dave Dynasty here for the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, I've spent years in the wrestling business from wrestler to promoter and now as host of the Dave Dynasty Show. And I know that solid training from an experienced instructor is mandatory, and that is what you'll get at the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling. Not only instruction from former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Wildfire Rich, but many other big-name wrestlers, managers, and referees that will come in as guests. The Tommy Rich School of Wrestling will provide in-ring training and personal character training with all practices recorded on high-definition cameras. They have over 2 tons of weightlifting equipment, tanning beds. It's all in an indoor sports facility that will host monthly wrestling events that will bring in big names to ensure that you, as a beginning student, can get seen. This school has it all. For anyone interested in proper training, contact the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling at 843-691-9205, and you will immediately be on your way to a profession in the wrestling business. Once again, call the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at 843-691-9205. And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty. How about that interview with Roger Ruffen? Spectacular stuff. Truly a legend in Midwest wrestling. Check out the NWF online, and if you get the chance to get out to a show, please do that. Support Roger and that organization. And how about old Mancer? Mance Warner with more wisdom. Good stuff always from Mancer. Thank him. Whatever. Thank you for coming on. Giving us that wisdom. And we thank you for joining us this week, however you do. And whichever way you do, please make sure you subscribe to us or follow us. Give us a share, give us a like, comment on it. We're available on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, all other major podcast platforms. So please share us, help spread the word, help support the Midwest Express in our efforts to support and promote Midwest wrestling. And also make sure you check out DaveDynasty.com. There are links there for all of our social media avenues. You can follow us there. Make sure you do. We are all the time posting pictures, videos, all kinds of things. And particularly hit us up on YouTube, where I'm constantly posting classic Midwest wrestling. Lots of good stuff, good old WWA stuff you want to see on there. And, of course, the weekly podcast also available there, as well as other YouTube exclusives. So you want to make sure you follow us there. And there are links to all that off DaveDynasty.com. And there were also links. Here we are in the holiday season. It's getting close. If you have to do some last-minute shopping, go to DaveDynasty.com, click on the Amazon.com banner, and do your shopping there. It costs you nothing additionally. We get a little kickback, and we appreciate that support. And if you're shopping for the wrestling fan on your list and are going to go to highspots.com, there is a banner there to do that also. And if you would like to give a gift to the fan that loves Midwest wrestling, loves the Dave Dynasty Show, and loves supporting what we do, click on our Pro Wrestling Tees banner, buy them a Dave Dynasty logo shirt, buy them one of the Funko shirts, or buy them the Midwest Express shirt. Those are amazing. Those are hot. Buy one for the wrestling fan on your list. Guaranteed to satisfy. And, of course, there's also links there if you would like to support us monthly on Patreon. We appreciate that. Click that link. Make a monthly donation to us. If you do that, if you're a contributor, we will send you some cool exclusive stuff every month for contributing and supporting us and keeping the podcast free. And also, if you would like to make one time, if in your gift-giving mood, you're feeling generous, and you would like to support the Dave Dynasty Show, show your appreciation for the fact that we are supporting Midwest Professional Wrestling, that we are supporting all those groups and those wrestlers and those promotions and the history of the great wrestling that you love here in the Midwest. You can do that by going to PayPal.me /The Dave Dynasty and send us a one-time donation through PayPal. We appreciate that. It helps keep the podcast free. It helps pay the bills. Keep the equipment upgraded, keep it all running, the production costs, advertising costs, all that. We appreciate it. That's how we do it. That's how we give it to you every week, minus the recent hiatus, for free. Is through your generosity and your support. Whether you donate through Patreon, whether you donate through PayPal, whether you use our Amazon.com or highspots.com links, or whether you buy our shirts. That's the way we do things. That's the way we run this, way we keep it free, and we appreciate your support. We also appreciate you just listening, sharing, spreading the word. Means a lot. That's how this thing continues to grow. That's how things continue to chug along here on the Midwest Express. And we're going to get out of here for this week. Remember, next week we have that fantastic hour-long interview with the King of Indiana, Billy Rock. Do not miss this episode. Going to be spectacular. But until that time, we will see you, everybody. Be good. Be safe, be independent, and keep on growing.